analyzing the body language of Jennifer Soto, the mother of Madeline Soto, who was found deceased on March 2024. And this particular video comes from a channel called Hidden True Crime. I'll try to leave the link to that channel in the description box below. Let's get started.
Based on the evidence I've seen, based on the videos I've seen, I do believe. And with that being said, and the reason I tell you that not to be an asshole is because the thought process with us leads it in a different investigation, a different way. Meaning, whatever is what we have, right? We cannot change what happened most likely on Monday. We cannot change the fact that I believe Stephanie killed her, right? All we can do now is find her as quickly as possible. On the 2% chance we're wrong, that she is alive, that's phenomenal.
This level of distress is not typical of a mother who has lost a child. I feel that's very obvious to point out, but non-verbally, what we're seeing here is someone who looks defeated and only starts sobbing when the interrogator tells her that this has become a homicide investigation. Otherwise, if you were to mute this video and watch her nonverbal communication here, you would be led to believe that perhaps she had been told that she needed to change her radiator and that was going to be an extra expense, and she felt defeated because of that reason. This is not the nonverbal communication of someone who has lost their child, but I feel that's very obvious. Let's go into detail about why that is. She is slumped down. Her hands are tucked underneath her legs. This is all indication of feeling defeated, more that she has been told bad news. Not horrific news, not very traumatic news, and indications of defeat in this cluster here. Her looking sorrowful, her chin down, the slumping over, the hands tucked under her legs here, and very closed-off behavior is not the level of distress we would expect from a grieving mother, from someone who has lost her child. Now, it's possible that depression from losing a child can lead a mother to behave this way, but what we're seeing are all indications of defeat more than sorrow. And the sorrow comes after the interrogator states that this is a homicide investigation, which does not right off the bat mean that she is responsible in any manner. The fact that it becomes a homicide investigation can be defeating, sorrowful news for a mother, and for someone who is depressed, they may not behave the way that we would expect them to behave. So all of those are possibilities, but we would very much expect to see a mother more in distress, more willing to cooperate and be part of the investigation, someone who is deeply grieving and looks more exhausted than defeated about the situation.
That's the best thing that can happen. On the chance that we are 100% correct and she has passed away, finding her now versus later will bring closure to your family, will bring closer to everybody, regardless of how it happened or why it happened. Meaning, if you have an inclination, if you know where she's at, if his father knows, that doesn't mean those people get held accountable for what he did. It doesn't mean those people get held accountable for knowing what he did. It means we close out the investigation. You know what I mean? So a lot of times we go into...
Her feet are very still and closed until he brings up if she knows who could have been the person who ended Madeline Soto's life, then she should speak up, cooperate. They could close the investigation, everything would go more smoothly. Suddenly her feet move a little bit, some indications of discomfort there. That's an adapter. This quick, repetitive movement there. Though normally adapters would come more repeatedly over time, and we are going to see it here and there pop up. But indications of nervousness around that, along with the lip compressions, the holding back of feelings or thoughts usually, or emotion of some sort. But again, this is not the nonverbal communication of someone who has lost their child, who would love to participate in this interrogation and find out who did it. We're not seeing anger and the nervousness appearing around the interrogator mentioning she could tell him who did it if she knows, or who might have done it. That brief veering away from baseline behavior there says that something's going on there, that she might perhaps know exactly who did it. And of course, everybody does know, based on recent events, that Stephen, her, I believe, boyfriend at the time, did confess to killing Madeline Soto. But if you did not know that, that brief appearance of movements, that veering away from the baseline there, very much indicates something else is going on, that she may very well know who did this.
Rooms like this, when you ask people questions, they say, hey, do you know what happened? Do you know what happened? And there's this fear of what happened already happened. I can't change that, so I'm not going to insert myself with knowledge. because it's going to make me look bad. Regardless, at this point, murder, right? He victimized her. He ruined her entire life from childhood until now. I think that there's probably some sense of guilt. And my fear is that sense of guilt is causing you to not want to assist in the location of her, not because you're a bad person.
So then we see a very small head nod as he says, your boyfriend did this, didn't he? And she's cooperating with that brief head shake. She very much knows. Now she's confirmed that she knows he did it. And then the tears come as the interrogator says, so perhaps there's guilt that basically you have allowed this to happen to your daughter. The tears again not coming around the fact that her daughter's dead. There's no distress around that. It seems, it appears to be more around her guilt, her participation in this, and what she knows. Now when the interrogator states what happened has happened, non-verbally she's fully slumping over, her head droops that direction, and she is very much defeated at that point, realizing yes, that's true, what has taken place has definitely taken place, and there's this level of acceptance that needs to be met because there's literally nothing else that can be done. And you see that moment of defeat, but again, not distress and grief where we should see it.
Personal. But because there's that sense of guilt that what was happening under your roof, and now by her being found brings that all to your plate, and it doesn't.
Oh no, if I knew anything, I would so tell you I love him. She said, you guys tell me your suspicions, but I'm not going to believe it until I have her body.
So there are things, and the reason I say these things, and again, I'm not trying to be an asshole, but the reason I say these things is a lot of things you said, and a lot of things I've kind of researched between Fox 35 story, between your initial statement to the police. A lot of things have changed. The initial statement to the police was you watched her get dressed, you watched her leave, you knew exactly what she was wearing.
Can I tell you my thought process or where I came from with that?
A lot of times there are indications of no remorse in instances of someone being guilty, but sometimes the person feels sorrowful and it's still not remorse. And that's very much what we're seeing here. We're seeing real tears, but it comes around her guilt and her participation in this, her perhaps being charged with something and her fear around that and her defeat around that, not necessarily around her daughter being gone. And then there's that distancing language there. Until I have the body, not my daughter, my baby, my child, nothing of the sort, does not name Madeline herself. So there's that distancing there that I would not expect to see when it comes to a mother and a daughter that should have been otherwise bonded and connected. But of course, no bonded and connected mother would have allowed this sort of thing to happen where Stefan was in bed with her daughter and should never have been. And there's parts of this interrogation where it's mentioned that other house guests did not want to share a bathroom with Stefan, with a male. She does not state that her daughter perhaps would feel uncomfortable sharing a bed with Stefan, or that matters in any capacity. Just that the house guests were worth more respect at that point than her own daughter. And the type of person that would do that, of course, is more concerned with herself and her own guilt. Very self-centered, usually.
I was handed this form, and I'm like, where do I start? What do I write? And somebody said, tell them what you saw. And so I started with, I saw. And then I wrote out what I wrote out. But it wasn't until later I was like, wait, I didn't see her. I assumed that I saw her. I assumed that I heard her. But I didn't. In reality, I didn't see her. I only saw him. And I heard something in the kitchen, but I don't know who that was.
Which we talk about today. But I guess there's other concerns. Right? You were nervous. The police have showed you their hand.
Now we no longer see the defeated, slumped over behavior that we saw earlier. We see her upright, chin up. She's making sure that what she's saying really lands with this interrogator. She's more focused on the reaction and behaviors of the interrogator than on the truth of her story. Then when she says, I might have seen someone in the kitchen, but I don't know who that is, there's an asymmetrical shoulder shrug. It's not natural. Normally, if we confidently are uncertain of something, all of our features uplift in uncertainty. I don't know. I have nothing to offer you, basically. But we're not seeing that there. We're seeing an asymmetrical shoulder shrug, and she even puts some distance between herself and this interrogator briefly for a moment there. It's very closed off behavior, very defensive, not uncertain.
Steph, let me walk your phone. Steph, I want to talk to you. You're going to lock down your residence. You can't go back inside. Me? I don't care if it's the love of my life sitting next to me. I don't care if it's maternal grandma. If the police come and take my mom's phone and my son's disappearance, I'm not going to offer my mom a lawyer. That's nuts to me. That to me shows you prioritizing stuff. Because at that point, you became more worried about him being falsely accused than any. Does that make sense what I'm saying? Put it out, that's what you felt. Does that make sense? People having lawyers is their constitutional right. That is
We do see the brief indicators of discomfort again, those subtle feet movements there when he brings up that she perhaps prioritizes her boyfriend over the fact that her child's missing. The interrogator is having to guide her and tell her, I don't care who it is if my child is gone and someone I know is being interrogated, I'm not going to stand in the way and prioritize because they may have done it. And we saw that brief subconscious head shake there in agreement with the idea that Stefan has ended Madeline's life. She has basically told this interrogator, yes, he did it. I know he did it. Again, not a large movement. That would take more effort. That would be more conscious. It was very subtle. This indicates either she's willing to throw Stefan under the bus, but verbally she's not expressing that. We're not hearing her say, yes, definitely Stefan did it. I know he did it. Definitely it was him, which in itself could have indicated a level of guilt as she would be throwing someone else under the bus when she has participated in him being a large part of Madeline's life. Sleeping in a bed, she admits she allowed them to sleep in a bed together, which is not appropriate for a teenager or minor to be in a bed with a grown adult man without the mother present, or really at all. It's not very appropriate. And Madeline was most likely very uncomfortable, and Stefan even has recently admitted to doing very wildly inappropriate, horrific things to Madeline. And the mother verbally expresses that Stefan is not a bad person, that he had all the reason in the world to behave the way that he did.
Thing that everybody is afforded. But for somebody who's going through what you are going through, to offer him a lawyer leads me to believe that there may have been a conversation, there may have been knowledge, or there may have been some inclination that you had, whether it be his involvement, her location, or something to where in your mind there's guilt.
I promise you. Wait.
Because you offering him a lawyer is very weird.
I know. That was still me under the assumption that I think at one point you guys interviewed me, and when you guys showed me the picture of her, I believed the stuff, but I didn't want to believe that he had done anything equal to her. I'm like, what if he did this stuff fine, but what if she's still missing out there? What if somebody took her? I still wanted to believe I believed him. I believed his whole story. So I was just like, I kept repeating that.
If you pay attention to her hands very closely, you see a lot going on that is very telling. If you did not pay attention to any of the clusters of behavior, Perchin going down, her going from still and her baseline being focused on this interrogator to subtle movements here and there that are very brief, her hands alone are very telling. And hidden thumbs, closed off, tightened, clasped hands, all of that indicates hiding something, or at least discomfort around something. And that's very much what we see here. We see her go from sitting with her hands clasped, all closed, a barrier there, to illustrating what took place, perhaps a time frame that she's trying to illustrate here. And verbally she's expressing, I believe, but when she says, I believed, her thumbs go away, her hands go away, it goes over here. She's hiding and closing off, and she even situates herself where she pushes herself back and puts that distance between herself and this interrogator. All behaviors of someone who knows more, is guilty, very much does not believe or did not believe that Stefan was innocent. And the interrogator is saying, it's bizarre that you offered this person a lawyer when you know or you don't know that he did it. You're not sure. And she's saying, well, I believed he didn't do it. But then everything closes off and her hands are going away and closed off, her thumbs disappear. She's very much hiding something there. Again, if we didn't know based on recent trials and events that have taken place that he was guilty, non-verbally she has expressed that multiple times in this very interrogation. With the subtle head shake, the nervousness around the interrogator bringing up that perhaps she knows something more than what she's saying, and her feet briefly move there. And then this where her thumbs go away when she says, I believed he wasn't guilty. But then why would she need to get him a lawyer of any kind? Why would he need that defense? That does not in itself always mean someone's guilty. People need lawyers. I would say even if you're innocent, of course, get a lawyer. But the cluster there of behaviors, non-verbally and based on her actions of getting a lawyer in the first place, all of that combined point to guilt and her very much knowing what was taking place. And then, of course, we know by now that she didn't even attend the trial, where she should have very much been there, very much condemning Stefan. And we did not see that, and that's what we expect of a mother, at least a good mother, who very much genuinely cares for her daughter Madeline, who is gone now. I'm going to end this here. If you've watched this far, please let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Please hit the like button. Please subscribe. Thank you for watching.